Wife 42 had an affair with a younger man 22 while I was out to eat. Hello everyone and welcome back to another story about Reddit cheating. Please click the subscribe button and the notification bell before we begin so you don't miss another cheating story. I've been married to my wife for about 17 years. I'm 39 years old and she's 42. We married after having our first child together, and our marriage was going great, so this came as a complete surprise, at least to me. Our union life was fine. We had a satisfying relationship as a married couple. But this happened, and I'm not sure what to do about it. She cheated on me with a 22-year-old man. He's the son of a family friend who relocated to the area for school and was staying with us because we have a spare room. We felt safe allowing him to remain with us because my wife and I both know his parents, who are wonderful people. Everything went smoothly when he arrived. He got along well with our children, was courteous, and followed at our standards. He wasn't noisy at night, he blended in well with us, and he wasn't a bother. My kids are back in school, and I'm back at work in the office, but my wife continues to work from home, and my son has a lot of online classes because his school uses a hybrid model. I realized they were coming closer than the rest of us, but I didn't think much of it, because after all, why would I? I had a happy marriage, and while this guy is attractive, tall, and muscular, I was not concerned that something might go wrong. Then I got the impression that something wasn't quite right. My wife would desire less interested in it and be less loving in general, all while she was all smiles with the new guy. She would have cramps, a headache, and be in a bad mood one night, although she would rarely express these things before, and we had a fairly active life. My worries were allayed when she would go back to being her typical self in terms of affection, but this would only last a few moments. After she returned to being more aloof. I went home for lunch one day because I wanted to test whether spending more time with my wife would assist our predicament. I don't live too far away, but it's still a long journey, so I received permission to have a longer lunch. When I get home, it's rather quiet, and I notice no one is in the living room or kitchen, which is unusual given that it's lunchtime. I go downstairs to the office where my wife works, but she isn't there. Then I hear something coming from our room. It was my wife's whimpering, something I heard before. As I heard her whimper, my stomach dropped and knotted, and I felt like throwing up. I had a brief moment of denial, but my suspicions had been reinforced, so I understood what was going on. I felt sick to my stomach as I heard more whimpering, and my wife said yes. I approached our bedroom as discreetly as I could, hearing intermittent whimper, bed squeaks, and the slapping sound of bodies slapping together during Opulating got louder as I came closer. When I opened the door, I noticed their clothes on the floor and my wife and the new guy on the bed. They were having exhibition in front of the headboard, facing away from the door, so I got a side-angle view of their backs and they couldn't see that I was watching them. My wife was getting hit by this guy while he yanked her hair and spanked her, and she was loving it. I wasn't sure what to do, whether to confront them, surprise her with divorce papers later, or become enraged, so I opted to wait. I returned to my car, drove away, and sat in a parking lot, repeating what I had seen over and over. When I went home, she pretended nothing had occurred and kissed me to welcome me, but all I could think about was how many rounds they did earlier that day. He was friendly as usual, but all I could think about was how much of a jerk he and her were. I'm shocked she did this to me. I can't get that initial gasp out of my thoughts, seeing her garment flown on the floor and her getting hit. This happened last week, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do now. I just wanted to get this off my chest because I don't know who to talk to about it, and I'm at a loss on what to do. The second story is as follows. We've been married for 11 years and have a 4-year-old daughter. I've been skeptical for a few weeks and asked her about it last week when she was spending so much time on her phone. She claimed she had been talking to her family and working hard and that the situation had improved for a time. I observed that photo partner sharing was disabled the other day. When I asked her about it, she stated she accidentally turned it off and then turned it back on. I got a notification that there was a new photo, so I went to see what it was, and it was a copy of some amorous messaging between her and a guy. I assume you saved a photo down by accident, I replied over the phone. Is there anything you want to tell me? She then hung up phone. I saved the photo and emailed it to her, inquiring as to what was going on. She claims the man found her on LinkedIn and has been hunting her for a while, forcing her to say terrible things. I obviously didn't believe her and tried to talk to her about it, but she said she was too busy at work to talk. After some back and forth, I told her that she needed to block this guy or we'd be done. She claims he's blocked him, but then goes on to explain she's too busy with work to chat any further. That was the day I found out, which was today. As I type this, I'm driving home to take my daughter to a swimming lesson, and I haven't seen my wife since. I'm not sure where to proceed from here. I caught my wife off guard, and she isn't particularly contrite or accepting any blame thoughts. Well, here's an update. My wife informed me that the man is a wealthy businessman who wants them to divorce so that they can marry. It was implied that I should be concerned about this guy's feelings and desires. I don't have to worry about her anymore, my wife says, as she wants to take my kid. I'm sorry, but I don't have anything. I suppose that's all there is to it. Edit 2. I had a brief conversation with her. She informed me she feels she had a past life romance with this man. This is insane. I feel like I've gone into another dimension. She's attempting to get me to struggle for her affection. I told her he had to go or I was leaving. She told me a bunch of rubbish, so I'm going to visit a lawyer tomorrow. The third tale. So for context, I was dating this girl who was fantastic in every way. She'd never done anything to hurt me. She was nice and kind, and she was hilarious. We dated for a few months before the first COVID lockdowns occurred, and we were forced to split up. We kept saying things like, oh, it's only a 2-week lockdown, and oh, they're only adding a couple weeks on, but we ended up being separated for 6 months, which was longer than we'd been dating, and I ended up sleeping with a common acquaintance. I was in such a bad mood. I wanted to tell her, but when we broke up, I decided to keep it to myself in order to preserve the memories of our connection. Actually, I was simply being a coward. In the year that followed, I continued to have a casual relationship with a common buddy, but we kept it a secret since we didn't want anyone to know. I've also been talking to my ex a little bit, here and there, and to be honest, I had feelings for her the whole time, and she's brought up the idea of us getting back together a few times, but I've always shot it down because I felt guilty, and that it would be unfair to her. Last week, my ex invited me to a party with a mutual friend with whom I had cheated. I went, but the mutual friend did not show up. At the party, I confessed to my ex that I had cheated on her, and she was understandably upset. She asked if it was random or someone I knew, and I told her it was someone I knew already. She didn't ask any more questions, but she seemed to want to patch things up and stay friends, which I would have appreciated. Then she called me last night, upset, feeling betrayed, and saying she knew who I'd cheated on her with and that someone else had informed her. I doubt she'll ever talk to me again. Right now, all I want to do is apologize again and again, but I'm going to honor her wish not to contact her. I wish there was something I could do to improve things. I detest myself for hurting her so horribly, and I'd give anything to have the chance to make amends, but I'm at a loss on what to do. TLDR, I cheated on my ex, informed her over a year later that it was a common acquaintance, and now I've damaged her irreparably, and it's the worst thing I've ever done. Thank you for viewing, and be sure to check out our other infidelity stories videos. Please subscribe if you haven't already to get more daily Reddit cheating stories.